Welcome to Biz Help for You with host Candy Messer. Entrepreneurs like to focus on the big picture, like profitability, success, and a smooth running organization. There always seems to be those little things like taxes, employee compensation, laws, regulations, and more. Now, you can get the answers you need in one place. Join us today as we break it all down for you. Now, here is your host, Candy Messer.
Hello and welcome to Biz Help for You with Candy Messer. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you found the information on last week's show, Designing a System of Servant Leadership, informative. If you are unable to join us and would like to listen to the show, links can be found on our YouTube and Facebook pages, as well as links for iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. If there are topics you'd find beneficial or questions you have, please feel free to reach out to me at media@abandp.com. Now let's learn a little bit about our guest today. Kay Suthar has made it her life goal to empower individuals, entrepreneurs, groups, and businesses in order to maximize their potential and expedite their success by assisting in achieving their goals and improving their performance through various business strategies. She's been helping people in the fields of sales, marketing, finance, operations, and leadership, as well as planning, creating, and executing profitable events, mindset, and work-life balance. Now, as a business strategist, award-winning author, and speaker, Kay Suthar was born and raised in London, UK. She also served with distinction as a police officer for several years before joining politics and becoming a campaign manager with the Liberal Democrat Party. Kay transitioned from having several health issues at one time to closing sales, streamlining businesses, and managing their finances to hit monthly targets before embarking on her own. Now she's running her very own business, coaching and training others. Kay's been involved in an amazing charity called Baliwise, which is located in Indonesia, where she also lived for 2 years. The charity empowers women through skills and education as a means to develop sustainable communities in Indonesia. Her role is to use her teachings to transform the women from being traditional housewives into growing and monetizing their skills to achieve a better quality of life for themselves and their families. So, Kay, welcome to the show.
Oh my God, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for that amazing intro.
Well, I'm really looking forward to the topic today. I know it's going to be, a great one to share with the listeners. But I always ask my guests before we actually get into the meat of the topic to just tell me a little bit more about themselves and how they even got into the industry.
Right. Oh God, it's an interesting one. So first of all, my business is called Unsensitive Society. And the reason why I decided to call it that is because of the type of coaching that I give to my clients. I found that while I was in the industry itself, that there's a bit of a gap. And where there's a gap, I was like, right, I've got to fulfill it. And what that gap was, is that I find that a lot of, coaches, consultants, they're very, what's the word? They don't, I guess, they don't want to be raw, real, and relentless, right? Because they might offend someone or It might hurt someone's feelings. But I have found through my own experience, right, through my own mentors, when I've had people being in my face, and when I say being in my face, I mean telling me to get my head out of my ass and actually get to work. It was those mentors that actually enabled me to progress a lot faster and a lot further than those coaches that actually just told me, patted me on the shoulder and told me life is going to be okay. Because guess what? Life isn't going to be okay, right? So I decided that my coaching is going to be exactly that, raw and real. And so giving people that accountability that they clearly need and telling people, what they need to hear, not what they just want to hear. Mm-hmm. And so pushing those people, telling them, that them just kind of just going through life and just thinking that they can do things tomorrow isn't enough to build a business.
Right.
And so that coaching, I find that gets results. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want for my business and for my client's business, is to get those results.
Mm-hmm. That's the reason that we're trying to have our business though too, right? Is to be successful.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. But also what I find is that when I show people, not just explain to them about business, and I cover 5 main pillars of business, which is sales, marketing, finance, leadership, and operations. But when they actually see me doing the coaching and they can see the difference in themselves and seeing themselves progress, it's then that they realize, okay, when they start coaching their clients, this is exactly the road that they need to take. So it's not just me explaining it, they're actually seeing the difference with their own eyes.
Right. Perfect. That's really what people need. I mean, sometimes people maybe want to have someone that just agrees with them and, yes, it's going to work fine, but I think you really need to have that person that's invested enough in you and your business too, to kind of give you that honest truth as well.
Right. And that's why I do the application form first, to make sure you're the type of person that will be able to follow those instructions and progress and go ahead. And I'm not going to lie, there's been a couple of people that I have made cry on the program, right? But you cry, you get over it, and then you move on.
Right. Exactly.
Yes. And so I think it comes to a point where, everyone deals with adversities. Things going to happen. It's life. But it's how you actually deal with it. And so again, going through these programs, you're going to face some harsh realities, but these are going to be realities that you're going to need to face, because when you're starting a business, scaling the business, oh my God, there's going to be so much stuff that's going to be thrown at you. You got to be ready for it.
Right. Exactly. And of course, our topic title today is basically failing doesn't make you a failure. So we'll get into, some questions that will cover that. But before we do, I would love for you to just describe yourself in a few words. What would the listener, get from you just by those few words?
Oh gosh, brutal honesty, being blunt, and also some humor.
Okay. So why did you even get into your business and coaching others?
So, oh God, that is a funny story. So I say it happened by accident, but people say things don't ever happen by accident, right? And so before I actually joined or went through the entrepreneurial journey that I had, I was actually a police officer in London, UK for many, many years, 6.5 years, in fact. And I had to quit that job because of severe health issues. And what had happened is, I remember going to sleep one night perfectly fine, waking up the next morning, and my entire body had come out in a rash.
Wow.
No idea where it came from, how it happened. It just happened with a click of a finger. And so I rushed to the hospital, got myself tested and everything to find out what is going on with me. And I remember waiting in the consultation room for my doctor to give me my results. And he stepped one foot in and he looked straight at me and he said to me, "You were lucky to get here when you did."
Wow.
Yeah. And I was like, "Well, what do you mean? What's going on?" And he goes, "If you didn't get here when you did, your throat would have closed up." Yeah. And then the first thing that went through my mind was, holy crap, what if my throat closed up while I was asleep? I would never woke up the next morning. And so I continued asking him, how did this happen? Where has it come from? And he goes, this particular form of rash, it's brought on by your body being overly stressed out. Now, they do say that, stress is a silent killer. And so I guess this was creeping up. I mean, I didn't even realize how, me being a police officer was actually taking a complete toll on my body, physically, mentally, and emotionally. And the reason I say mentally and emotionally is because when you are a police officer, you're always around negative environments, right? It's never a positive one. The only positive thing that will come out of it is if you catch the bad guy, right? But then that in itself is a very negative thing, because you're around people that should be doing certain things. And so I decided, you know what, this is my life that's on the line. I'm not going to do this anymore. I've got to figure something else out. And so I decided to quit my job. And what was so funny, and I wish someone had told me this, but the minute I quit my job, all of a sudden these doors of opportunity started opening up for me. And I was like, well, why didn't no one tell me this? I would have quit years ago, right? And so I was like, okay, do you know what? I've got enough money to last me 6 months to figure this out. I didn't have a plan B, no idea what I was going to do. And then all of a sudden these opportunities started coming up. And I remember going to an event. It was my last day as a police officer, and that evening I was invited to go to an event that my friend was actually hosting. And I was like, oh, I don't want to go. I just can't be bothered. I want to stay at home. I quit my job. I need to figure stuff out. She was like, no, just come down. If you don't like it, then just leave.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, okay, I'll come down. Went down there, and oh my God, it was not my scene. There was bankers, there was accountants, and people suited and booted. And I was like, oh God. All right. So I did what most people do. I went straight to the bar and ordered a drink, right? And as soon as I did that, I remember this guy came up to me, started talking to me. And I was thinking, oh God, it's going to be another chat up line, right? But then he started asking me about my qualifications, what my experience are, and, what kind of things I want to do. And I'm like, well, this is a weird chat up line. So I'm answering all these questions. And then I was like, hold on a second, who are you? And he goes to me, I think you will be great on my team. I would love for you to come on board. I'm a member of parliament. And I was like, well, okay. And he actually asked me to come on his team as a campaign manager. And so I left my police role on a Friday, and I then joined this team the following Tuesday. So there wasn't much of a break at all.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went through those emotions and learned about politics, and really learned that, politics isn't for me either, because there's actually more criminals in politics than there are in prisons, right? And I was like, if I end up in hospital as a police officer, there's no way I'm going to last in politics.
Mm-hmm.
So that didn't last very long, but I learned an awful lot from politics as well. And then I remember the following week, I got a phone call with another opportunity. And what I wanted to do for a long time was get into live events. So I'm a talker. You can probably already hear this, right? But I'm a talker. I like being around people, interacting. And so I thought live events will be amazing, especially because it's so positive. It's a positive environment to be around.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to get into this for a while. And it's funny because friends and family are telling me, you have no qualifications in events. You have no experience in events. There's no way anyone is going to hire you. You're living in a dream world. Guess what happened? So a week later, I got a phone call, and I was asked to join this team. It's a huge organization. It's an international company. It's a US company. And they're like, we are looking for people to head up our events division. And we want you to be the first person that we employ to head it up.
Nice.
Now I was like, oh my goodness. Okay. I was like, what kind of events is it? Found out it was business events. So it's going to be events all over the world where there's a stage, you have experts, gurus, talking about business. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is like a great environment to be in, right? I'm going to immerse myself in this and just be a sponge and soak it all up. And so I was like, okay, yeah, no worries, let's do that. I've got nothing to lose, right? Why not? And then he was like, okay, great. He goes, what are you doing in 2 days? I was like, well, I don't have any plans. And he goes, great, I need you to pack your bags because in 2 days you need to be in Malaysia. That's your first event.
Wow.
I was like, oh, wow. Okay, so I did what I had to do, packed my bags, and I was in Malaysia. And this is where it all started. So now I'm, meeting these people, meeting these gurus, these experts, finding out about business. And what I really found out is I actually studied business in college myself. And what they teach you in colleges and how it works in real life is completely different. Right? Completely different. And when you're out in the real world, you're having to learn about business all over again.
That's so true. And real world experience versus book experience, right?
Oh,
or
my
book learning.
Yeah, it's a huge difference. And so the other thing that I learned is that in corporate, they have bosses. But in actual business world, they're leaders, right? They build their team up with them. And so that was a huge eye-opener as well. And so now I was on my journey about learning about real life business, how it works, leading events, right? Sales. And eventually I became the events manager. And then I started doing sales back of room events. And then eventually became a number one closer for this company. So I was learning slowly, bit by bit, on how to actually build a successful business. And so as I did this, I was then invited by the CEO of the company to then go head up the Costa Rican resort that he just bought for his masterminds, right? So we have like 60K clients that are paid to go to a mastermind, and that's where it was going to be held. And I was like, great opportunity. I was paying for my apartment, paying for my flights, and then paying for my service while I was there, right? And I was like, perfect. It's like paradise. And so I went there thinking I'm going to be there for about 3 or 4 months, see how it goes. If I don't like it, then I'll leave. If I like it, then I'll stay longer. And you know, when you're at your peak of your career, right? And you feel like nothing can go wrong. And all of a sudden, it takes a turn. I was in Costa Rica for 3 weeks and the company shut down.
Oh, wow.
The company shut down, and because they were paying for everything, all of a sudden I was evicted. I was homeless, didn't have no food, didn't have no water, in a foreign country, and I don't speak the language.
Wow. That would be scary.
You're right. So now I was like, holy crap, how am I going to get out of this one? And so what I realized, and I've figured out, my strength really is seeing things that people don't see and having a different perspective. And what happened at that point was, whereas everybody else was stressing out, pulling out their hair, crying, didn't know what they were going to do, I couldn't help myself but sit there and laugh, right? Because I was like, how insane is this?
Right.
But then I also thought about the Tony Robbins of the world and the Les Browns of the world, where they were also homeless at one point. And so my perspective was, well, if they were homeless and they became millionaires, and now I'm homeless, clearly I'm going to be a millionaire, right?
It's just a step along the path, right?
Right, exactly. Because I was like, you got to be homeless to become a millionaire, right? And so I just had to just laugh it off. But what I also discovered is that because I wasn't, all in the whole negative emotion, being overwhelmed and frustrated and annoyed and upset, I was able to think logically. So I was able to get creative, think outside the box, and figure out, how am I going to survive this? And so what I've learned is that everything that I learned at these events about sales, about marketing, I knew all of that stuff. I picked it up just like that. And so what I decided to do is that this particular resort that was owned by this company, by the CEO, all of his business shut down apart from this resort, because the way he organized it, it was a separate entity.
Okay.
So it will still go and it will still open, but guess what? Now they didn't have any clients because the main business was feeding them the clients.
Right.
Now they've still got bills to pay. They've still got staff, right? So that's to pay wages and salary, but yet they've got no clients coming in. So I decided to go up to the resort manager and say, listen, you still got bills to pay. I don't have a roof. I need food. I need water. So how about I show you how to market, how to bring leads in, how to do the sales, so you can actually have clients and be able to pay your bills. In return, I need roof, water, food. And because she knows that if it was anybody else, it'd be paying thousands of dollars, and all I was asking for my basic needs met. So they were like, yeah, definitely. They jumped on it. And so I was doing that for a little while until I figured things out, and then eventually was able to come back to the UK.
Nice. So obviously that is a dramatic story of things that happened. And again, we are talking, about failure doesn't make, you a failure per se, failing in business and something, but that was really not your failure per se, right? So were there other experiences that you've had while you're in a business, running your own business too, that maybe you had these failures that came your way that you had to deal with and like overcome? Are there, some stories like that you could also share?
Yes, so there's been a couple of things, and do you know what? Most of my failures is basically areas that are not my strengths, right? And most of that has to do with the tech, the operations, getting organized, because as you grow, oh my God, the amount of organization and prioritization that you need to do is absolutely insane.
Right.
And so just like most people, when they first start off, they feel like they can do it all themselves, right?
Or feel they have to, just because they don't think they have resources.
Right. But people don't realize the amount of resources they do have, because they feel like, oh, this big company here pays for, getting the marketing done, has a social media person, has this, that, the other. But when you're first starting up, that is not possible. And you are wearing all the different hats in the beginning. But then you also need to see where you start to scale. When you are, have maybe 2 or 3 clients coming in, right? It might just be 2 or 3 clients, but it was a lot more than what you had last month, which was 0. And so you are scaling slowly. But then what that also means is that you need to maybe start looking at hiring people to do the things that you're not good at.
Right.
And outsourcing is the best. And what happens is, and what happened to me is, when I first got my first couple of clients, I was like, yeah, great, but I still want to continue doing it myself. Guess what happened? I got overwhelmed. I got stressed out. I was missing calls with my clients because I couldn't keep up with everything. Right. And so all of a sudden, when you're trying to scale, you're going downhill. And when the minute you start going downhill and you're trying to do so many things at the same time, your health also deteriorates. Right. You stop caring about yourself, about your body, because you've got so many things going on. And so what was actually happening is I wasn't sleeping, because when I was trying to sleep, I had a million things going in my head. I've got to get this done. It's like a checklist that's going on in your mind, right? And so I'm worried. I'm not sleeping. I've got a lack of sleep. The next morning I'm getting up and I'm exhausted. And I'm like, what the hell is going on here? Like, everything was going great. And coaches have coaches too, right? I have coaches. I have mentors, because you always want to be able to scale up. And so the answer was very simple, but I couldn't figure it out myself, because when you're in your mess, when you're in your own head, you can't see the obvious. And so my mentor just told me, you're scaling up, right? You've got these clients going on. You need to start hiring people to do the things that you're not good at. Right. Because where it takes you an hour to do something, it could take them 10 minutes. And so I was like, right, I had to hire a VA. And oh my goodness, right? I didn't realize how much of a blessing that would be. But it just took away a lot of the work that I was doing, didn't have to do anymore. So that way I was able to concentrate on the things that I'm good at, and that's coaching my clients. Right.
Well, and I think that's something important for business owners to really think through, because a lot of times, again, they'll think, well, I don't have, the resources to pay someone. But again, if you look at what you're spending your time on things that aren't related to you running your business and the things that you're good at, right? If you actually had someone else helping you with that, it does free up your time, so you could bring in the revenue that you need, to run your business. And you're generally better at that. You enjoy it more. And like you said, you probably spend a lot more time on tasks that, because you're not as good at it, that you could invest that time in your business and grow. And then you still have the resources to pay. But it's investing. I think that's the thing I try to encourage people to, is look at it as an investment in your business, not an expense, right? Because if you're investing in your business, you're going to get a return on that investment at some point, right?
And so the biggest thing that I've learned is that as you are scaling, like, you have to organize. You got to be able to organize and be efficient in so many ways. Organize your time, organize your tasks, organize your morning, your daily routines, right? and making sure you have time to look after yourself as well.
Mhm.
Right. So having maybe your morning rituals, because the way you start your days is how your day will then show up the rest of the time. Right. And so making sure you put that time aside too. And not just work. And then also making sure if you have family that you put time away for them, because the minute they feel neglected, they
Right.
will tell you,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
They're not going to be happy at all. And so
Mhm.
that's why I talk about, having that career and life balance.
Mhm.
Because, and in fact, I want to change the wording for that. I don't feel like you can have a 50-50 balance with
Oh, for
everything
sure.
that's going on, right? Because sometimes you might need to concentrate more on your family because something's going on there, or
Mhm.
more on your business or something, right? But you need to make sure, I guess, you're living in harmony,
Mhm.
right? And everything is kind of working out the way it should be.
Right. Yeah, I have a
But
friend that says priorities. So it's not really a balance per se, but it's what's important to you. And sometimes business might have to take priority because you have deadlines or you have, certain thing happen. But then you do want to have your family take priority at some point too. So it's, not always, like you said, right in balance, but it's really just making sure you're prioritizing things correctly.
yeah,
Mhm.
definitely. And so, even just kind of learning that I live on my calendar. My
Mhm.
everything that I do is on my calendar. And
Me
if it's
too.
not on my calendar, then guess what? It doesn't get done.
Mhm.
Right. And then even on my calendar, I have to make sure, I put a time for when I have breakfast, time I have lunch, time I have dinner. Because again, when you get all involved in your business, everything's going on, you forget to eat. I know
Right.
I've done that, right? You
Mhm.
start skipping meals and the whole day's gone past and you're like, oh, I'm feeling really hungry. What's going on? And you realize you haven't eaten all day,
Right.
you know?
Exactly. So
So
obviously you face failures too in your business too, but I would love for you to talk for anyone who's listening who feels they're in that space right now. Like, I've had a failure, whether it's business, decline because of COVID or other things or whatever, but they're in that space right now feeling somewhat of a failure themselves. Like, what could you say to encourage them to say you can still overcome these challenges? Can you give an example maybe of something you went through or some tips you could give to them to
um,
say you're in that space, but you don't have to stay there?
right. So I find that there's different levels of failing. So first of all, is it failing because you feel like you've done something and it hasn't worked out?
Uh-huh.
Or is it failing because you don't feel confident to then take the next step to
Mm,
build your business, right? Now, if it's the first one, and if you trust me, it hasn't worked out, then great. Then you found one way that it doesn't work. How
right.
about shifting, pivoting, right? And trying something else? And so, for example, I have been wanting to promote my business myself for a long time. And what's happened is that I have been afraid to get in front of the camera,
Mhm.
right? And most people go through that when they're first starting out, right? And they're
Right.
like, oh my God. And then they get busy being busy, but not actually doing the things that they need to do. And so, what you can do for that, if you're afraid to get in front of the camera, maybe do something where you're on a podcast and it's not a video and it's voice only, right? And then just building up what you're saying, how you're saying it. And then the biggest way to kind of go through that is by just doing it. If you're
Mhm.
scared of doing something, right, and you really want to get over this fear for whatever reason you have, just do it,
Mhm.
right? If you
Mhm.
want to stop smoking, just stop smoking.
Right. Mm,
If you want people to know who you are, what you do, and how you can help them, then do a 30-day challenge, a Facebook live challenge, right? And what you will be surprised about doing that is that when you do it and you kind of have people go through the journey with you and you explain to them why you're doing it and you're trying to break free of being outside your comfort zone, there'll be so many more people cheering you on and supporting you. You would be amazed.
mhm.
And by the end of that 30 days, you're going to be a lot more confident being in front of the camera and actually learning how to speak in front of the camera as well.
Right. Well, I think, one of the terms I've heard before is like imposter syndrome, right? So if we compare ourselves to someone else too, and we think like, oh, well, we're not as good as that person, or I don't want to pretend to be an expert if I'm really not, even though you do have, that information that you can share with others. So that's probably part of what they're going through, don't you think?
Yes, definitely. I've gone through that as well. Now, again, the biggest mistake people make is that they're comparing themselves to someone that's been in the business for 20, 30 years, right? And when they first started out, they were going through the same thing, right? It happens to every single person as you grow. Now, having the imposter syndrome is completely normal as long as you don't stop yourself from progressing. It's great to understand where people are now. Again, I say the Tony Robbins and the Les Browns. But if you go back and find out where they came from and find out their history and where they were before to where they are now, it will actually help you or give you the realization that everyone starts from the bottom.
Right.
And they progress up. No one ever wakes up the next morning and the whole world knows them, they're famous, they're making millions. It never works out that way. And so learning about business is about actually just doing it. There's no point in you thinking, oh my God, I'm going to do this program, I'm going to do this course, I'm going to do this, right? Because there's so many of them out there. But the way to learn the fastest is by just jumping in and doing it. And what doesn't work, you shift, you tweak, you pivot.
Right. And like you said, if you mess up, you've learned from that experience at least, right? And then you can take that and start. So again, that's where the, having a failure doesn't mean you are actually a failure. It's a learning experience.
Yeah, definitely. And the more you fail, the more you fall flat on your ass and on your face, right? The bigger the lesson you've learned. And I guarantee you're not going to make those mistakes again.
Right. And oftentimes when people have gone through something like that and they've had what they consider a failure, they can actually use that to help other people in the long run. So if you hadn't gone through that experience, you wouldn't be able to make an impact on other people.
No, that's correct. And as you've heard, I've heard, there's so many gurus out there that are able to tell people what to do, what not to do, because they realize what's worked for them and what hasn't worked for them and where they've completely messed up, right? And so again, having those coaches, having those consultants, mentors help you not only just save time, but to save money as well, because they've done it. Why not just follow their formula and just make sure that, you're not going to fall into any pit holes, and just kind of have those coaches, have those mentors to show you what to do. However, there's going to be certain things that you're going to have to learn yourself. Right. And having those pitfalls and having those failures and making those mistakes is where you're going to learn real life business, is where you're going to have your own intake on things. Because sometimes what hasn't worked for other people may work for you because you made this slight tweak that people haven't thought of.
Right. That's so true. So what is something that you wish you would have been able to do differently had you known kind of what you know now?
What I wish I'd done differently is that I wish I did things like this. I wish I was brave enough to get on a podcast. I wish I got in front of a camera years ago. I wish that I was confident in myself to do exactly what I'm doing now. But guess what? This confidence didn't come through because people were telling me, oh yeah, you're great, you're doing this, you're doing that. Or my clients telling me, yeah, it's because of the results that you've given us. It's because I just did it. I was like, screw this. Let me start doing videos. Let me see how it goes. If I mess up, I mess up. But that's the only way you're going to build your confidence is by doing it.
Right. Yeah, there's so many, like I said, that have just started out. Like I didn't even intend to be on the, having a podcast or anything like that either. I'm actually, for those who know me, know I'm actually shy and, introverted in that whole thing, but somebody actually had reached out to me, and I was originally on Voice America for like 15 months, which was audio only.
Wow.
And my husband kept saying, you really should do it on YouTube. People search YouTube. You really should be on video. And it took me like probably 3 months of him telling me that to finally be like, okay, but it's the same thing. Like we all have, where we don't necessarily feel confident on something, but I still listened every time, things have come my way. Like the first time I was ever going to be an author in a book, I didn't do my own, one whole book myself, but I was in like a compilation book, and someone said, oh, you have great information, you should share this. Well, that was scary, right? But finally I like my family or whatever, it's like, you'd be great, just do it, so those little steps that are completely scary. And again, you could think, well, what if people don't like what I have to say or something, well, I guess we just have to realize not everyone is going to like want to read our book or listen to our podcast or something. But if we feel we're sharing information, that's my whole goal, is like educating entrepreneurs so they can be successful. So if that is my goal, I'm doing what I can, right, to do that. And the ones who find it helpful are going to find it helpful, right? So I've had to just realize like it's not going to be for everybody. And some people might think I'm not doing a great job, but I'm doing what I feel is helpful to other people. And then that's, the reason I do it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to make everyone happy, right? And you aren't going to get those naysayers.
Right.
But then you want to be able to filter out your raving fans from those naysayers. And your raving fans are going to support you. They're going to be there. They're going to ask questions. They're going to want to know more. They're going to love you. And so it's not a bad thing having naysayers, because the way, again, I see it, my perspective is if I have naysayers, then I'm on the right track. If I don't have naysayers and everyone loves me, then clearly I'm doing something wrong.
Right. Right. And you can learn from those people too that, have maybe something critical or something to say about the business or, how you're doing things or something, because sometimes you can learn from that. I mean, sometimes people are just being mean and, what they have to say isn't really valid, but there are times that you can actually use that, criticism, if you want to call it, to really look at something and say, they are right. I can make this change and make it better.
Oh yeah, most definitely. To be fair, the only way your business is going to grow and scale up is by getting feedback from your audience. And it might not be something you want to hear, but again, if you think of it logically, it might be something that you can change. Right. And then turn those naysayers on that one little thing into your raving fans because you made that small change.
Right. And that it shows you're listening to people too, and you do want to make things better.
Oh, yeah. And then what I find also is that as human beings, and it's completely natural that we're always in our own heads trying to create this or make something better, right? And we're pulling out our head trying to figure out how to do this. Why not just ask our audience? Why not just ask our clients, our raving fans, and say to them, how can we make this better? What worked, what didn't work? Because it's your clients that we want to be able to make happy. That we want them to come back. We want them to listen to the podcast, see your content. And so the only way to kind of overcome that without pulling out your head and trying to figure it all out yourself is by asking those people that want to hear more about you.
Right. Exactly. So I know you were talking earlier about, we can't really have things in balance. And I was mentioning, I had a friend that, uses the word priorities or something, but how would you say that you have juggled kind of the work in your home life and trying to recover from what you might have seen as a failure and trying to like turn things around? Like, how did you juggle all of that?
So again, it comes down to time management, organizing, and prioritizing. So for example, doing podcasts just like this, I'll say to myself, I'm only going to do 2 days in a week. Right. And I'll do it from 12 noon to say 4 p.m. Right. And I'll only do 2 or 3 a day maximum. Right. And so trying to make sure that you prioritize your days and your times on a daily basis definitely helps. And again, using that calendar, I can't stress how important it is to use your calendar to find out where you've got space, where you've got gaps. And then also we'll know that life is life. things just turn up when you least expect it to happen, right?
That's true.
And so having everything organized on a daily basis will also help you to see where you need to shift, what's working, what isn't working. If something's come up, oh my God, have a VA so they can organize your calendar, right? And so just kind of going through times and days of what I'm doing daily basis, and then also booking up in advance. I always like to be prepared. And so I'm not going to look at my plans for tomorrow today because it's too late, right? I'm already 2 weeks ahead, a month ahead. I've already got podcasts booked up in September, right? I don't mind planning ahead. You got to be able to do that and don't leave things last minute.
Right. Yep. That's great information for sure. And actually, I really liked when you said have a VA also manage your calendar, because I'm actually really good at organizing and structure and all of that stuff. So I have everything on my calendar, but there are some that's just not their strength, right? So they might feel overwhelmed even trying to manage a calendar and figuring out how to plot things, but having someone else who can actually do that would be a great idea for someone that maybe that's not their strength.
Oh my God, yeah, and that's why I have my VA. And my VA, oh my goodness, they're a blessing to me. Like my life would be a mess without them doing this. And it's something that comes so easy to them, right? Because it's built into them.
Right.
They know exactly how this works. And when you're hiring someone, you're going to realize it's going to take them a while to be trained up to how your daily task goes, right? They're not going to be able to just jump in and know everything about you. It takes time to train that person up.
Right.
And so once they know how you work and how you like things laid out, and having that person making sure that they keep in communication with you is so vital, right? You don't want your VA to be stranded, left on their own, feeling that they can't approach you. Making sure you have that open communication is vital as well, right? Because without that, if anything changes, if anything goes wrong on your side or even their side, because they're human beings too, that they may have something coming up in their family life, they might fall ill. You got to be able to juggle that, to make changes, to work around whatever's going on, and having a VA do that, and not all falling on you. It's so helpful. It's such a blessing.
Right, exactly. And if anyone needs referrals to virtual assistants, I actually have a company that I use that is amazing as well too. So I'll just throw that out there. Feel free to reach out to us too. So any final tips that you would want to share with someone who, again, is feeling maybe they're in that spot where, I'm not where I thought I would be. And, I want to turn this around so that I don't feel like I am a failure either. Yes, I've been in a place that I didn't want to be. So any final tips that you could share with them?
Yes. So again, what I found is that you always have so many people around you that tell you what you should be doing, how you should be doing it, where you're going wrong. And most of those people are family and friends that don't even have a business, never owned a business, right? And so,
no idea. Yes.
Right. And I like to make it clear that there's a difference between opinion and advice. So my car broke down and my mum started going to me, have you checked the battery? Have you checked the water, the fuel? Have you checked the exhaust? Have you done this? Have you done that? And I'm like, my mum doesn't even have to change a tire, right? She's telling me, have I done all of this? And so, and then I'll go to the mechanic, go to the garage, and they tell me, yeah, this is where the problem is. This is what we need to change. We can do that in the next hour. This is how much it's going to cost. Boom, that's it, done, right? So your family and your friends, when they tell you something that you need to do or need to change or check or whatever, and they don't do it themselves and have no clue, that's opinion. Advice is from people that are experts in that field, that have been doing it for a while, that is their specialism. That is advice. So you need to be careful on what kind of opinions and advice you want to take in, and whether it's coming from expert advice or whether it's just opinions and people just want to tell you how to live your life.
Right.
right?
That's a
And
great point for sure. Because I bet a lot of people do. I mean, even in my situation, I mean, I have very supportive family and they've been great, but at the same time, they haven't been in business. So they don't understand all the challenges I face. And so I love I have a mastermind group that I've been in for years and years and years too. So, but having, like you said, someone professional you could reach out to who's been there, whether it's a mentor or, like a mastermind group or a coach or something that can actually help you. Like you
yeah,
said, not just give their opinion, but actually help you. I think that's fabulous advice.
and that's just on day-to-day life as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like when my car broke down, just like if your sink or your plumbing goes, rather than
Right.
asking the other half or a friend, get a plumber, right?
Right.
How easy is it to solve? You're just with someone that knows what they're doing.
Right. Exactly. It's so true. So I know we're getting close to the end of our time, so I would love to just find out if you have an offer that you would like to share with the listeners.
I do. So I've got a mini program on my website. It's at www.unsensitiveSociety.com. It's up on the screen as well. It's a mini program that actually where you're able to put pen to paper to find out what your long-term and your short-term goals are. And then to actually break down from where you're being busy and where you're actually being productive. So going from busy to going to be productive. And it's funny because I've done this with most of my clients. And when they tell me, oh my God, I don't have time, I've got kids, I've got this, I've got that going on. And then when we actually look at, okay, let's see where you're actually putting your time on a daily basis. And I guess the pandemic has really screwed that up for people because what I'm seeing most people do is watching Netflix for 6 hours every day.
Oh, no.
Right? And so that is not going to serve you or your business.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So, but it's an eye opener when you actually put it down, pen to paper, and actually see where you're spending your time.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you see that, it's about changing your habits and being aware of it. And the minute you're able to do that, you can then figure out, okay, what tasks do I just do on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, those small little steps that you can do each day to actually get to your long-term goal.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's fabulous. And it's so true. Like you said, being busy or actually being productive. That's actually a great way to look at things because people can say, well, I don't have any time. I'm just busy. Right. But when you actually look at the things you're spending your time on, you might find that you could actually free up some space by just getting away with some things that are just busy work or just aren't even necessary.
Netflix.
Right. Yep. So, I know you gave a website, but are there any other links or ways that people can reach you?
I'm sorry. So you can reach me through my website or you can reach me through Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I will send you the links if I haven't already done so, and I'm sure they're going to be in the show notes already. And also I do have a private Facebook group that you're able to join. Once you download that mini program, you'll be able to join the Facebook group there where you'll be able to get a few more tips, guidance, support, accountability with anything that's going wrong or going right in your business that you would like to kind of learn a little bit more about. And so you'll be able to contact me there as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Kay, for being a guest on the show and sharing, your experiences too. I know this has been an interesting topic.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I've had so much fun.
Sure. And I also want to thank the guests for tuning in and listening. I hope you found this topic interesting and that it answered some questions about how failing doesn't make you a failure. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to Kay at any of the links that she shared, or you can message us at media@abandp.com. And would you please share our show information with those you know? I'd greatly appreciate your support. I hope you can join us for next week's topic, the 5 essentials for a magnetic LinkedIn profile. And please remember you can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. And my website is abandp.com. And you can also, again, find the links to this show posted on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. Until next time, have a great week.
Thank you for listening to This Help for You. Please join your host, Candy Messer, again next Tuesday. Have a terrific week.